What up, Earl in the dark? I'm really digging this vibe, if you call it, and wearing my Danhausen shirt. Thank you very much to Danhausen. He's a really nice dude. Lois has just awakened, so expect a cough sooner than later. Do I know my dog or do I know my dog? Welcome to Monday Night Raw in the Earlverse. And if you haven't done so, check out the slightly over the hour mystery video I unearthed today of me and Brody Stevens on my couch doing inappropriate Earl. I don't remember filming that, but I would say probably about 20 to 30 episodes of Inappropriate Earl were filmed, aka recorded, either off my phone or iPad. So there should be some random episodes video style. And that's probably my biggest regret I've ever had with Inappropriate Earl, was not filming every single one. I think that would have given me a much better chance of success with the podcast. But, you live and learn. I'm still shucking and jiving, trying to crack the YouTube algorithm. So I'm really concentrating on my YouTube channel. I used to really concentrate on Instagram, and, my heart's just not in TikTok. It just isn't. I don't get the humor on it. Like my ex Chandler, she's a whiz at TikTok. I mean, she's got, I think when we broke up, she probably had 300 plus edited videos in her draft folder ready to go. But I think YouTube is much more for my comic sensibilities. The live streams I like doing the most. Robin Williams stole the jokes because he was kind of a dick, to be honest with you. He stole a lot of jokes from a comic by the name of Steve Pearl. Now, he paid for some of them, but, he was the original Mencia. I mean, he's obviously a legend, but, oh yeah, you can make money on TikTok. I mean, I know Chandler got sponsorship offers, and she had, I think at time of breakup, maybe around 250 to 300,000 followers. Like I still only have 3,950, something like that. So I can't make money on TikTok, but you can, there's a couple, my friend who's an Instagram model, she has like 1 million followers on Instagram. Excuse me. And she gets offered stuff all the time. I think her minimum requirement is like 10 grand an ad. So if you're an energy drink company, you send her a case, she cracks open a can, drinks it in an Instagram video, she gets 10 grand. I mean, I don't know. I mean, Robin Williams was a little before my time in stand up, so he probably was so famous and so successful. What are you gonna if you're Stephen Pearl, what are you gonna do? You gonna pick a fight with Robin Williams? You just sit there and take it, and hopefully he pays you. Um, that's part of my reason why I didn't really like Jeremy Piven is, you ask, was Robin Williams from the theater, Boulder Johnny, did he not know it was wrong? I can't speak for Robin Williams and his reasons, but Jeremy Piven, I've had friends of mine who open for him, and he'll just after the show be like, "Hey, I really like your joke about milk cartons. Can I take that?" Like, I guess he's asking, but it's like, no, that's not how it works, man. Um, Woo energy drink isn't doing so well. Well, it's very hard, Ross. I haven't seen it once in stores, and people are lazy. Um, that I'm not, like I'm lazy. I'm not going to search for fucking Woo energy drink. I'm not going to mail order it. I'm not going to be stuck with 12 cans if I don't like the taste of can one. Hot Chicks do have it made. Brad Dorff. Yeah, he probably would. Great actor. Great actor. But, he probably literally doesn't know what Cameo is. I mean, I remember it's kind of creepy now, but before I knew Ron Jeremy was a rapist, um, and I said to him, "Hey, man, will you come on my podcast, Ron? Talk about your history in the business." And he looks at me and he's like, he wasn't kidding. He was like, "What's a podcast?" So Brad Dorff, he probably doesn't know what Cameo is because Cameo is really not that popular. I mean, you hear about TikTok every day. You hear about Instagram every day. Very few people talk about Cameo. Yeah, but Harlan Williams is doing that as a goof, and I bet you he gives the opening act a little more money, saying, "Hey, man, here's a couple more bucks for you." Um, he's a beloved figure in the comedy community. I mean, he's someone who you'll never hear a bad word about. You know, he's just funny. I mean, he's been doing comedy for what, 30 years or maybe, I mean, an incredibly long time. Um, so he's someone that I look up to and, he does everything the right way. And, um, he's been a working comic for 30 years. That's pretty impressive. Uh, well, I've never said Jeremy Piven wasn't a good actor. But Jeremy Piven's not gonna practice his stand-up. He's not gonna go to an open mic or even a good workout room. You know, he probably thinks that he probably thinks that, you know, um, I'm just a good actor. Just give me the script and I'll make the jokes funny. But you can't make the jokes funny if you aren't funny yourself. Um, D. Snyder's on Cameo. Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying it's totally unknown, but I'm saying to someone of like Brad Dorff's, um, you know, um, age, he probably doesn't know what Cameo is unless his agent or manager's like, "Hey, dude, you should get on this." Like Sean Avery, the hockey player, he kills it on Cameo. Um, So, what percentage of comics are joke thieves? I mean, that's hard to say because, like I said, Queen on, I don't really um, watch a lot of comedy. So, I would say at least 20%. Just like I did a show last night at the Comedy Store. There wasn't one comic on the lineup who was a joke thief. So it really depends. You see a lot of joke thieving on like roast. Because roast jokes are kind of generic. Roast jokes are hacky in general. So, I would say roast comics, the percentage is higher. 30, 40%, you know? So, oh, I mean, Brad Dourif's like Dourif, I think. I hope I'm saying his name right. He's an awesome actor. I mean, he's been a successful actor for, I mean, how 50 years? Like, yeah, the Brody episode, I was just, I got a video of it today on my Facebook memories, and I'm like, I don't even remember doing this, um, like filming it, and I think it was the full hour, so was very happy with being able to show that to you guys. How often, when you're talking to younger comics, are you seeing younger comics that don't know older comics? Yeah, I mean, it's every day. I mean, you go up to any comic who's under 30 and go, "Do you know who Foster Brooks is?" They're like, "Who?" I mean, most younger comics say under 30 don't know who Don Rickles is. Um, you know, it's just, it's like you go up to, the NHL draft is in actually a couple weeks, I think. And you go up to anyone being drafted today or whenever the draft is in 2 weeks, they're all 17 and 18-year-olds. Do you know who Bob Probert is? I guarantee you 95% of them will not know who Bob Probert is. And he's maybe the greatest enforcer of all time. Or if you go up to any of them and go, do you know who Marcel Dion is? Maybe the greatest player to never win a Stanley Cup. And I would almost say 100% of them will not know, unless they're from Montreal, where Marcel Dion was from. And even then, I mean, it's joke stealing is a very, um, it's it's tough to dole out punishment. I mean, I was in the bathroom once at the Comedy Store on a Monday night when I used to do not potluck, but the open mic for paid regulars. And I'm in the bathroom and I literally heard one of my jokes being told word for word. What can I do? Beat the shit out of the guy? No. I mean, uh, oh, you should go, Ross. Harlan Williams, you will. I don't know how much the tickets are, but you won't regret that purchase. Do you ever review film like an athlete to improve your craft? Not really. Um, I rarely tape my sets because I have a super duper memory. Like last night, every comic on the lineup struggled. It was just a tough crowd. You could tell the room was tourists who are at the tail end of a weekend. They're probably going home today early, leaving Monday afternoon. So they were just literally, well, we got to do something tonight. Um, so like taping last night would have been completely useless. But Wednesday night was a great set. I mean, there are some sets I'm like, like the set I put up on YouTube, 45 minutes that the Comedy Store had me take down because my friend Maria was filming it in the corner. But it was so good, it looked like a special. Um, I'm glad I taped that. I mean, it was a very, very good set. Um, I mean, Harlan's the next. I mean, he's on another level than most comics. Uh, well, I mean, in the world of stand up, there's so many fucking creeps in this business. There's joke stealing, there's pedophiles, there's, um, people who hit women, um, cheat on their wives, and there's female comics who cheat on their boyfriends, too. But, it's mostly the men doing the bad stuff, so joke stealing is really not high on the list of, hey, we got to get this guy. I mean, look at the Rogan Mencia thing. The only way that was even allowed to happen was Rogan was a bigger comic than Mencia, and barely, like, in terms of like, um, and you might even argue they were tied in terms of who was the biggest comic at the time. So you really need, if you want frontier justice in the comedy world, the one dispensing the justice has to be a big comic. I could sit there and call out the guy who stole my joke when I was in the bathroom listening to him, but nobody's gonna care. I got no juice. I got no manager. I have no representation. Um, but if, obviously Rogan or, Hinchcliffe, who I'm sure is a major manager now, um, he can say, "Hey, man, that's Earl's joke. Shut the fuck up," and I'll get an apology ASAP. Um, I don't know about that, pots and pans. I don't know. The only ventriloquist I know of is Willie Tyler and Lester. I've been to the Viper Room many a time. The Viper Room is literally one block up. Um, well, but I mean, David Lucas is no match for Harlan Williams. It's just literally, it's like not even close. But he's also that's not like a roast joke of David Lucas, but like you know, Harlan Williams is going to outwit 95% of all comics. Um, it's just, and that's the problem with the younger generation of comics who are growing up, trying to do a roast battle or kill Tony is, they're conditioned to do 1 minute. Harlan Williams does an hour shit probably 5 times a week for the last 30 years. So you better have a lot of gas in the tank if you want to go up against him. What up? What up, SC? I don't even get it. Like joke stealing, like two people can't do a premise in the same exact way. Who cares if they do the same premise? Well, you would care if it was your joke, you know. I mean, I was involved in a very man. I wish I could put this on YouTube. It's probably the most well, the Rogan Mencia clip is the most famous joke stealing video, but I was involved probably in the second most famous joke stealing incident. By the way, hit the like button as I'm telling this story. Hitting the like button is free. Hit the subscribe button. Hitting buttons on YouTube helps me out. Um, hit the notification so when I come on, you know the deal by now. So a couple years ago, um, there was a comic. Well, I don't even know if he was a comic. He was I hate to use this term because it's how the Dabbleverse was created. He dabbled in comedy. And he was friends with Mitch Mulaney, who was a very, very funny comic. He passed away. So this guy would just go to the Improv and other clubs and do Mitch's act, like word for word, not the premise, but word for word. And what was even crazier than that was he would also do the act outs. So if Mitch had a joke where he would go like this, Jason would do the same joke and go like this. So clearly stealing, not just the act, but the mannerisms, the actual jokes. I mean, it was fucking nuts. And so the LA comedy scene, I kind of said, "Hey, dude, we all loved Mitch Mulaney. Like he was very popular, like a cool version of Dane Cook. You know, like like a lot of people don't like Dane not because of his fame or fortune, but he's kind of a dick to a lot of people, or he was. I don't know what he's like now. I mean, he judged my first roast battle on TV. He couldn't have been any nicer. But a couple months before that, he judged one of my roast battles, the weekly show, and I'd gone at him a few times. And, this is where Jeff probably told me, yeah, dude, why don't you come up, judge a roast battle? It's cool, man. Everyone will love you. And Jeff knew that we were all going to rip on Dane Cook. And yeah, everyone's cool, man. You'll be the funniest guy in the room. And so I was really shitting on Dane that night. And I was getting the better of him laugh-wise. But it was my room at the time. So Dane comes up to me afterwards and he's like, hey, man, let's get together. I'll write you some better shit. I'm like, my shit was working. I said that to myself. So that's why I bring up him in comparison to Mitch. Like Mitch would have come up to me and go, "Hey, good job, Earl." Um, okay, so now that's the lowest cough. Uh, so the LA comedy community had basically told this guy, "Knock it off." We all know Mitch. We loved him. Stop doing his jokes. And he would like come up with some crazy excuse. Oh man, I wrote those jokes with Mitch. Mitch did not use this guy to write jokes with. Mitch probably didn't use anyone to write jokes with. And so he kept doing them. So my friends Carlos Herrera, who you might know from the Best Friends podcast, and also what podcast was he on before? Esther's podcast. Him and my good buddy Eric Gruber. He just said, fuck LA comedy, moved to Amsterdam. They had a talk show at the Improv called Mostly Normal Show. So they invite Jason Garrett on. And he starts doing the act. It's like a talk show. And in the crowd are me, Ari Shafir, Chris Neff, Mac Lindsay, a who's who of rogue characters of LA comedy. And so he does the act. He sits down like any talk show. It tells about your comedy upbringing, and he starts talking about something. And then all of a sudden, Eric starts trying to play the video. And it was funny because the whole crowd knew what was about to happen. We were going to play a video of him stealing Mitch's act to him in front of an audience. And you could tell Jason was like, something's about to happen. And me, Ari, and Mac Lindsay were just in the back heckling, and saying all kinds of nasty stuff. And then all of a sudden the video starts playing, and Carlos and Eric are like, these are Mitch Mulaney's jokes, aren't they? And the guy starts getting really nervous, fumbling, and he just gets up and leaves. And then my friend Chris Neff starts following him with a camera, recording him running down the sidewalk. So that's how Joke Thief, and if you look it up somewhere, you'd have to be a real video voyeur. It's Jason Garrett, like the Cowboys football coach, Joke Thief video. It might help if you put in Ari's name or my name. It's really fascinating to watch. It's unbelievable. It's the real life outing of a joke thief. Let me see. Pots and Pans, was it anywhere near as funny as Andrew Dice Clay is greatest stand-up act of all time? I love Dice. Dice doesn't get the credit for being a great comic, but he is. Yeah, it was totally To Catch a Predator. I mean, it was just like nobody knew, or he didn't know. Jason didn't know what everyone else knew was going to happen. I mean, it was like being on the set of a snuff film. And he literally quit doing comedy after that night. I have not seen him since that night. And that was, whatever it was, 10 years ago. Let me look it up, see if I can find it. It might be on Vimeo. Let's see here. Sorry I have to do this while the stream is going, but I don't have a joke producer, so I have to do this stuff on my own. Jason Garrett Joke Thief video. Something. Hold on. There's a few episodes. There's a few, of course. There's a few Reddit threads on it. But to show you, like, let me see. All right. I don't see any. It's a very popular thread, but I don't see any video. It's just a lot of It's because the video is awesome, and then we do, like, a recap, it was really well it was guerrilla filmmaking at its finest. Um, I might have found the video. Oh, man, the video is private, so that's too bad, but, I'll see if I can get the video, maybe throw it up on my YouTube page. Um, but that's how you can handle a joke thief situation when all the comics are essentially at the same fame level. Because also interviewed after that was shown were me, Ari Shaffir, Mac Lindsay, I think Don Barris, Eleanor Kerrigan. Um, I think Bobby Lee might have been interviewed, but I'm not sure. So Michael Schenker announced his new album today. I mean, I would listen to that on Spotify. I mean, Michael Schenker was somewhat in Rat. Um, if you can remember when they did Rat Unplugged for MTV, Robin Crosby was pretty fucked up at the time. So Michael Schenker, he might have even been technically kicked out of Rat. So they brought in Michael Schenker and I think Fred Curry on side drums. Fred Coury is like one of those guys you can, oh, that's just a drummer from Cinderella. But, he also filled in for Steven Adler in prime Guns N' Roses. So, and I'm sure there's a video of that somewhere around. Which LA comic is most likely to appear in Sting Operation with Chris Hansen? I mean, probably one you wouldn't expect. Um, I mean, I'm surprised more comics don't get popped because how many times I get DM'd by what appears to be a pretty young girl. Hey, I saw you tonight at the Comedy Store, blah blah blah. And I always feel like, okay, this is a setup. So just invite him back to the Comedy Store. I mean, who knows? I mean, I'm not very smart, Boulder Johnny. I'll be straight up with you there. I mean, I'm not book smart. I'm street smart, which is weird because I grew up in Bel Air. So it's like, really? How did you get street smart playing golf at Bel Air Country Club? But it was probably the greatest education I've ever had in my life was going into the card room of Bel Air Country Club with my dad, watching him play cards and shoot the shit with Jerry West, rest in peace, and a bunch of rich, degenerate gamblers, who, were the biggest hustlers in LA at the time, business leaders, athletes, actors. So I was around bullshitters from a very early age. Um, well, I mean, Michael Schenker, you're not listening for the quality of the songs, AC/DC. You're listening to his guitar playing. So, um, I think his albums will be judged for the virtuosity, if that's a word. Well, I mean, Delia's already been busted. So, like, if you're talking what current comics could get busted, I don't know what these fucking scumbags are up to. Do you think Steven Adler's sword stabbing a couple years ago was a suicide attempt? Well, I know he was probably a big fan of the keyboard player from the Tubes, Vince Welnick, who joined the Grateful Dead, and then he just fucking lost his mind and did the Harry Carey or Hari Kari. Um, well, I mean, but that's a different, Mark and Theo, like that's different. When you're asking me who's going to be popped on, To Catch a Predator, like um, scenario, like, listen, sleeping with fans is dangerous for sure. Because then they usually get not obsessed, but they like you already. At least they like what they think is you. Um, so then they kind of get attached, and they see you talking to another female fan, and that's where the problems start. And then that's where like false allegations can happen. Because then they could say, well, he rapped me. And then, well, we did have sex, but it was consensual and blah blah blah. So I try not. Well, I mean, I've had a girlfriend for the last 10 years. So I can't recall the last time I slept with a fan. Um, yeah, like Jim Florentine's a good-looking guy, but and Harlan Williams. I mean, I don't know if he's single or married or whatever, but you're definitely out there. I was talking to someone last night at the comedy store about it. Playing Edmonton, where I remember. I kind of forgot this story until now, but so I go up there with Rob Schneider and Jeff Richards, and I did better than probably I should have been doing just because of the hockey jokes. I mean, I could throw in a Dave Semenko reference and the crowd would go nuts. And Rob would say to me afterwards, "Who the fuck is Dave Semenko?" I was like, "Oh, that was Gretzky's bodyguard." Blah, blah. And then one guy was really small, like, "Hey, look, you look like a rat." And I'm not talking Ken Lensman. Who the fuck is Ken Lensman? Oh, he's just. Never mind. So, I got a lot of love from the female fans up in Edmonton because here's this not famous, but here's this LA comic, and they're just happy you flew up from LA to be there. So the next day in the West Edmonton Mall, I was working out at there's a cool Gold's Gym there, and I had a couple female fans. "Oh, we saw you last night. Can we come see you again?" Beep 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 beep. Beep." And so, that's how it starts, especially when you're in Edmonton's not a small town, but when you're far away from home and you're in. I mean, Edmonton is kind of an isolated area, so they don't get a lot of celebrities. And I'm certainly not a celebrity, and I definitely wasn't back then. But there is kind of an allure of, hey, this guy's cute and he's famous, famous to them. Has Earl ever been embroiled in a scandal? Not really. Uh, I can say Robin Williams is very talented, but I really dock him a lot of points for stealing jokes. I mean, I did have an ex-girlfriend accuse me of throwing her down the stairs. Uh, no, no, easy. I don't have a girlfriend now. I was just saying, for the last 10 years, I've had almost a girlfriend consistently. So, but I mean, I'm single now, so there's no one to pop the question to. I wouldn't even say it was a scandal because no one believed her because she had some issues, I guess you'd say. So she was a pretty unbelievable storyteller. Do the ladies love Harland? I'm sure they do. How many fans did you sleep with from Michael's Pop? Just one, to be honest with you, Doug. Uh, I like that. Yeah, the chick from the hike stream was Gene Whitney, very funny comic, works at the Improv, did roast battle uh, back in the day. Is he telling the girlfriend story forever? Which one? Hello. Um, well, I mean, Ace is probably pretty broke. There's a reason he's still touring. It ain't because he likes doing the road. Um, they're all afraid of being thrown. But yeah, but I didn't do it. Oh no, no. I mean, well, um, someone had asked me if I'd ever been embroiled in a Ross Dogs and asked me if I was ever embroiled in a scandal, and that's really it. No really skeletons in my closet. I mean, I'm an open book. You guys know that. So there is no video of that forever because it didn't happen. I mean, yeah, I don't know about that, William. And it's you think that how could Ace Frehley be broke? Kiss was around for 50 years, like, but I'm telling you, um, he's not smart with his money. And I know at some point he sold the publishing rights to Gene and Paul. So, that's where the big money's at. Now he might get some money with, T-shirt sales and, his image, but I think he even sold his image back to them. He probably got paid 2, $3 million, but, I mean, listen, at that last Kiss farewell show at the Hollywood Bowl, I was a maniac. I was buying fucking everything, but in every T-shirt I bought, the image was of Tommy Thayer. So, younger fans, they don't know who Ace Frehley is. As crazy as that sounds. And like, I was living in a building with Steven Adler from Guns N' Roses. Now, there's a dude who drummed on Appetite for Destruction. I believe the highest selling debut of all time. I think it even outsold Boston's debut album. Not the highest selling album of all time, but the highest debut. Like, I think Thriller is still the number one selling album of all time. But, um, Ace is just not the smartest businessman. When you see a 73-year-old dude or however old he is still touring, he needs the money, honey. Yeah, I mean, I could see him owing the IRS money. IRS. RFK is not winning. He can't even get 5% of the fucking vote. There is not another human in my house, pots and pans. That is the amazing wonder dog, Lois. Are you having your plumbing fixed? No, that's just Lois, baby doll. Yeah, I mean, Ace, you can be a millionaire and be bad with money. You buy a couple homes, you buy a couple Ferraris, you buy a Lamborghini. Um, you know, you make a look at the guy from Judas Priest, KK Downing. He bought like a fucking golf resort and it tanked and lost most of his money. Now you think Judas Priest has been successful for 40 fucking years. How could he be broke? One bad investment sunk him. Alex Van Halen, multiple divorces, kids, alimony, child support. It adds up. I got a clog you can drain. Yeah, the Ace really Wesley Snipes accountant. But you have a bad accountant, you have a bad manager, who's ripping you off. Yeah, you have a gambling problem. I mean, they say that's why Jaromir Jagr still plays hockey at the age of 52 because he's fucking basically broke. Yeah, I mean, you look at, I mean, that's a great, you know, you win $350 million in the lottery. Now, I'll assume that guy took the bulk sum, so you basically pay your taxes up front, and so 350 million. He probably cleared 150 million because they basically take 50%. Now, that sounds like $150 million. How do you piss through that? Say you buy a $10 million home. Hey, let's buy another $10 million home. I mean, it adds up really fast. Let's buy a Ferrari. Let's buy a Mach. Let's buy a custom-made McLaren. There are only 3 of them in the world. That's $1 million. I mean, there was a guy out here. Now, it's going to be pretty hard for this guy to go broke. But he won, I think, $1.9 billion. He took the lump sum, 950. Thank you, Lois. $950 million he took home. He took the lump sum. They basically take like 55% in taxes. And this guy, within 1 week, had bought a $25 million home in the Hollywood Hills and then bought like a $7 million home where he grew up poor. So within like under 7 days, he had already spent $32 million. Now, he's still got a long way to go to blow through $950 million, but you can do it. And this is in the first week. Now, you got to figure, he goes to Vegas, maybe he gambles. Yeah, I lost $10 million in Vegas. Fuck it. And that's another $10 million. Lois, come on. I'm trying to record. I'm trying to conduct some business here. Um, you could, like I said, 350. I could see someone blowing through that when it's basically 150, but 950 million, like that's going to be pretty hard. But you buy a $25 million home. Let's say it's 20,000 square feet. Do you know what your monthly, not just the electric bill would be on that house? Probably 20 grand a month in electricity. If you've got all the lights on, TVs, and all that shit, it's easily 20 grand a month. The lawn, what would that be called? The green, the landscaping on a 20,000 square foot house, probably 10 grand a month. So, it's significant upkeep. So it's hard to really imagine blowing that kind of money, but you can do it. Especially like if you're Steven Adler and you've got a drug problem, you're spending a grand a day on coke or whatever you're doing. That adds up. How's your house hunt going? Still hunting. I'm still hunting pots and pans. No, it's just a cough. Uh, yeah, I mean that's not a good sign when he's selling a lot of his vintage drums. Lois does sound like she smokes. I never watched Full House, to be honest with you. Yeah, private jet. And this guy has friends. Especially the guy who won the $2 billion. Uh, he grew up poor, so he's probably, hey, let's all go to Kiss's last show at Madison Square Garden. I'll pay for the honeymoon suite at whatever hotel's the nicest in New York. You can, like, it's crazy how you can spend money fast. If I won the lottery, I would just buy a few city blocks in Detroit for a couple hundred K. Hello. Uh, I mean, I'm sure other musicians would like to play with Alex Van Halen on records, but that's not going to make them much money. I mean, no one buys records these days. It's all streams. Lois needs a Ricola. Ricola. Is Jagger in the top 20 ever? Sorry, sometimes I don't read all the questions because they all look the same to me. Um, Look at Kumia. He invested in Gino. Same thing. I did get a new car, a BMW X3 with the M package. Um, See, I'll read all the free questions. Yeah, I mean, there's taxes. You buy $25 million, and especially in California, I don't know what it's like wherever all you guys live, but any house over $5 million gets an extra 3% tax. So that 950 million, that's not going to mean that much. But if you're just buying home after home and car after car, uh, yeah, I mean, Kumi is an example of someone who seems to have spent his money reasonably. Um, but you think all the money he's made, he can't like live that extravagantly. I mean, Opie seems pretty financially responsible. I mean, look at the background of his podcast. It's a beautiful fucking beach condo. Um, is Jagger in the top 20? I mean, I don't know. You mean top 20 scoring of all time? He probably is. Um, yeah, I'm not gonna buy a mansion in Watts. Although, listen, every time I go to SoFi Stadium, which is totally blood and crip neighborhood infested, there are some nice houses there, but then you got to fucking live there. Um, yeah, I mean, look at the Menendez boys. I mean, now they didn't get 100, 200, 300, $400 million, but they had in their minds they thought we're going to get all the money. Probably $100 million, maybe if everything worked out. They're going to the Rolex store. I mean, it's easy to spend money, man. Like I remember when I bought, it's probably the nicest thing I have in this house is a $5,000 Breitling. I did it after the jellies got picked up. I thought I'm gonna treat myself. Fuck it. Because I really don't have that many nice things. I mean, in terms of like, oh my God, you have that. Um, so I bought this really nice Breitling. I still have it. It's beautiful. If a watch can be beautiful, this watch is beautiful. And the guy who I bought it from was like, hey man, it's a great watch. I'm happy for you. Don't get too cocky. Kevin Hart just bought $1 million worth of watches here yesterday. $1 million worth of watches. Now, the odds of Kevin Hart ever going broke, pretty low. But that just goes to show you. That's one day out of the year he spent $1 million. House Hunt is temporarily on hold. What's your favorite? I don't watch Full House. Where? Let me see here. Have you ever been on a private jet? I have with Dr. Ken. Where are you looking to move to? I mean, I've looked at all over. I've looked as far as Encino because it's cheaper out there. It's also 10 degrees hotter. There's a really nice area of LA in Brentwood off of Montana Avenue. From like on Montana between like 20th and 10th Street. It's so quiet there. There's no crime. It's, it's awesome. But, you're going to pay for the privilege of living there. I mean, my condo is about 1,700 square feet. To buy a 1,700 square foot condo over there, it's going to cost you easily what this is worth. And I really don't want to live or move condo to condo. Kumi isn't that smart. He got married twice. Yeah, I mean, look at Slash. He gets married to a stripper with no prenup and has kids. You think it's any accident while Guns N' Roses is resting? He's off with his own band. I mean, there's no accident. Kumia threw a fit over people playing his show on YouTube. Well, yeah, it's like, they're using his comedy skills to make money, and he gets none of that. $1 million on watches. What a great investment. Well, I mean, it might be, though. I mean, like my Breitling, I bought that maybe 7 years ago. It's probably close to 10 grand, because I keep impeccable care of it. Boulder Johnny, $2. What percentage of the homeless are failed comics? That's an interesting question. I mean, in LA comedy, you're not making money the first couple years. Like even Matt Rife, who's now making a lot of money, he didn't make any money the first couple years of him doing stand-up. He could barely get booked. So most people don't stick it out like he did, or certainly like I did. Not that I'm making tons of money, but like I'm making enough to not have to have a real job. I would say there's a couple homeless comics, probably 3 to 5% of the people who started doing comedy just quit and they're homeless because they have no job skills for the most part. You think a guy who does an ass eating joke is going to work well in customer service? Well, it's time. I don't like West Hollywood anymore. The crime's brutal. It's just 4 armed robbers literally outside my door the other night, robbed people of their cell phones and watches. And the kicker is I was walking Lois at the very same time. So I don't even feel safe walking Lois. Just, okay, I got to go work out. I'm going to walk Lois real fast. Now, what time is it right now? It's 8:18 for me right now. And I literally don't feel safe taking Lois for a walk right now. No, he has Missy there with him. They didn't get married though. Okay. Yeah, tell me about it. Bruce Kulick in the house. Yeah, I mean, but I would not live in my car in Austin. It's so fucking hot there. I'm not a very good surfer. I used to boogie board. Yeah, I mean, Vista Del Mar, Palms, Culver City, there are some good areas, but there's also some shitty parts of Palms. Mar Vista, there's gangs in Mar Vista. So, that area in Brentwood off of Montana, there ain't no gangs there. There's great walking. There's a Whole Foods. There's an Erewhon. There's, all kinds of stores that I would shop at. Artie Lang. Yeah, Artie Lang's the guy who you think, okay, this guy was on Howard Stern. He's been basically a famous comic for 25 years. I bet you he's not that well off. So, I mean, I don't think Ray has a lot of money, but maybe he does. I don't know. Um, I mean, Austin's a great comedy city because they know that it's the hotbed of comedy right now. But if you're not in at the mothership, you're not going to get in there. So, and the Creek and the Cave is, they're picky with who they let play there, and so then you're doing bar shows. I mean, and they do pay. I mean, Austin's probably second to New York in terms of paid gigs. Um, would you ever move to Anaheim? Probably not. It's just too far for me. I mean, everything I do is in Hollywood, so like let's say I lived in Anaheim, it'd probably be cheaper and get a nice condo there. You could probably even get a house like where I play hockey, Garden Grove. For those of you, it's just off the 22 on the hockey rink is on the corner of Knott and Chapman. I could probably get a decent house that's literally across the rink for $1,000,000. But then, like, if I wanted to play the Comedy Store on a Saturday night, that's an hour drive. Right now, for me, it's an under 5-minute drive. So, you got to ask yourself, um, do you want an hour drive but live in a house? See ya. See ya, Doug. Uh, Ray literally just texted me, "If you can spare even a $5 super chat, it's appreciated." Yeah, I mean, I'll never ask you guys to super chat me. If you do it, you do it. What are we at almost an hour? I've read almost every free question. But, I don't like if you don't think I'm funny or whatever, listen to Ray's stream, give him money. I don't give a fuck. Eventually, a big real estate company is going to offer a pile of money for that building. Well, I mean, this is a very valuable area I live in. Um, you know, this building was built, I think, in '74, so it's a 50-year-old building that's definitely showing signs of age. I could see a land developer offering us 1.5 to just get up and move. I would absolutely do that. This building is kind of like the building Ari Shafir and Stephen Azizi lived in on Sunset and La Cienega. It's right at the top of Sunset and La Cienega. They're now building some super modern building there. But, back then, a lot of comics lived there because you could walk to the store and it was very convenient, pretty cheap to live in. Ari and Steve, when they were probably living there, probably paid around $1,000, and I've been into a couple of those apartments. I won't say why. And so I could see a developer because my building is right across the street from La Pete Hermitage, which is a very high-end hotel in West Hollywood. I could see them going, "Hey, you know what? Why don't we buy that building and it could be an annex to our hotel." Have you ever been to Bobby Lee's house? I have not, even though we share the same birthday. Uh, well, I mean, but the bottom line, William, is this is a 50-year-old building. So, the standards that they used to build this in 1974 are not the standards they use now. So, I believe it's definitely time for me to find another place. Pacific Palisades is another nice part of town, but it ain't going to be cheap. You're talking, to get a 1,700 square foot condo there, a fixer is $1,000,000 there. I mean, I got lucky with this. I bought this in 2020, no, 2001, right before 9/11 for 370. Put half down. I was lucky enough to be able to put half down. So my mortgage and whatnot with property taxes is like $1,600, 495 for the HOAs. So for about 2 grand, I'm living pretty nicely. But that's also because I put half down, 20 plus years ago. How long did your neighborhood start to decline? I mean, it's really been, yes, thank you, Ross. That's why we haven't talked about the Dabbleverse once. Um, West Hollywood's gone. It's been in a constant decline pretty much since I moved here, to be honest with you. Um, it's from 2001 to now, I would say the homeless has increased 200%. Like when I moved here, so 2001, I was here for a couple months at the end of 2001. Um, so let's say from 2002 is when I was like a full-time resident here. There was maybe literally between 5 to 8 homeless people in West Hollywood. 'Cause West Hollywood's a small city. It's 1.9 square miles. And I would say now 30 to 40. So that's a huge increase. Um, and it's overdeveloped. The construction on Santa Monica Boulevard, which is one of the most traveled streets in the world, is down to one lane, and for a lot of that 1.9 square miles, I've said this before. Beverly Hills is just to the west of us, but they push all their problems to the east, so we get them. And then to the left of us is like the Fairfax Russian area. They push all their problems to the west. So we're smack, West Hollywood, where I live in particular, is ground zero for shit. Um, so I would not live. Well, the scary thing is my homeowners are 495. When I moved in here in 2001, they were 175. So that just goes to show you the cost of living and what it has increased to. If you had to choose, would you go closer to the beach or up in the hills? Well, that Montana area by Brentwood is kind of by the beach. I wouldn't mind a change. But, the Hollywood Hills, whether it be Laurel Canyon, Beechwood Canyon, which is to the east, you're not going to live there for $1 million. You're talking a shack tear down fixer upper is 1.3. So I don't have that kind of money. That's why we got to get this stream going. Just kidding. Hello. Yeah, debates are, I think, 12 days away. It's going to be good. It's too hot in Glendale and Burbank. Well, if I play the Ice House a lot, I might think about living in Glendale or Burbank, but it's just too far. Once again, it's like, if I wanted to go to the Comedy Store right now, it's an under 5-minute drive. Glendale or Burbank, it's 30 minutes to an hour. Now Monday night, it's not going to be that bad, but it's a brutal drive. Well, I don't know. I mean, West Hollywood is a pretty democratic city, but um, and there's two really main boulevards in West Hollywood. There's Santa Monica and Melrose, and if you drive on Melrose, I'm going to guess, I would say 40% of the stores have a for lease sign in them because people just can't afford the rent. There's no there's a lot of traffic, but there's not a lot of foot traffic. I mean, even Cookies, the weed store, which was on Melrose and little east of La Cienega, if you know the LA area at all. Um, the rent got too much, and they made money, baby dolls. I mean, Cookies never did not have a line out of it, but I'm sure the landlord was like, "Hey, at $5,000 increase." I'm like, "Okay, see you later." So now you have probably a 10,000 square foot building that was making money for the city, for the owners. Good place to buy weed. It's vacant, making money for nobody. That's very typical. And if you drive east from where Cookies was on Melrose, it's a restaurant open with 20% people in it for lease. Restaurant open with maybe 30% people in it for lease. So, it's a headache to have a business in West Hollywood. I mean, very few businesses are thriving in West Hollywood. Couple restaurants that do well. Dantana's kills it, and they've been around for 50 years. But Dantana's, they're all pro waitresses. There are no waitresses. They're all pro waiters. Not one actor in the bunch. The bartender's been there since day one. The maitre d's are all pro maitre d's. Um, the parking valets are all that they're not actors doing the gig to make connections with the people eating at Dantana's. They're pro valets. And then so that's on Sunset and no, I'm sorry, that's on Santa Monica and Doheny. And to the east of that is another popular place called Jones on Santa Monica. My buddy Keith owns it. But the service is great. Like it's packed every night. It's packed right now on a Monday night. Dantana's and Jones are probably the only two restaurants in LA that are packed right now on a Monday night. But the service is great. So Santa Monica is too busy for Earl, not peaceful there. Certain areas are good in Santa Monica. Yeah, I mean, 495 is pretty low for this area. I know where my friend lives on Alta Loma and Sunset. He's paying, I think, $1,250 in homeowners plus his mortgage. Um, yeah, I mean, there are some gay porn stores, no doubt about it. Well, but the owner of Cookies probably, or the owner of the building, not of Cookies, because the owner of Cookies was a rapper. He probably has a lot of money, but the one thing I've known about people who have a lot of money is they don't like to lose it. So that building's getting him nothing but taxes he's got to pay. So he's losing money right now in that building. I don't know who it is, but I guarantee you they're not happy. I mean, Formosa's relatively popular still, but unfortunately for Formosa, it's right across the street from Jones, and Jones definitely gets the bulk of the business. Kippadata, great comic from back in the day. I heard Callan lives in Santa Monica. No idea where he lives. Well, Miller Drive is like, that's big money. You're talking Miller Drive. If I had the money, I would love to live on Miller Drive. That is minimum $3 to $5 million, and it's not even that nice. I mean, Miller Drive has like $10 million homes. So unless you want to give me some money, honey, cut that Miller Drive talk out. Yeah, I mean, Austin is cheaper to live in, and there's no state income tax. So I don't want to, I don't have the time to deal with a fixer-upper. I want to buy a house, bring my toothbrush, and plop on down. Well, I mean, I might play Scottsdale, at some point, the House of Comedy. I am welcome there. So, Lois, come on now. I mean, Formosa does well. I mean, it's still open, but that area is kind of janky, to be honest with you. I mean, just the next block up is La Brea and Santa Monica, where the Target, GNC, and Best Buy are, and it's become like a homeless commune. So, I mean, just the other week, maybe about 3 weeks ago, maybe a month ago, homeless guy set the awning of Jones on fire. Now, luckily, someone caught it, and they got to it real fast. But that could have burnt the whole fucking building down. And Jones was just recovering from a car driving in the front window. So moved to Bisbee, Arizona. Lived next to Doug Stanhope. No, thank you. No, thank you. Have you ever played Wise Guys in Vegas? I've driven by it, but haven't been yet. I tried to. Pauly Shore told me to call the owner, recommended me. The guy never even got back to me. And it's like, okay, because I've seen who Wise Guys books. They book some good comics like Pauly and Mark Maron, but then they book a lot of beginning and green comics. And like, okay, you want to book this? Literally, they booked a friend of mine, open mic level comic. They gave them the weekend. It's like, okay. I mean, I'm at the point now where I don't really try to get gigs. I'll throw out the email, say, hey, so and so recommended me, and most places don't even get back to me. So fuck them. Well, I will be coming to Vegas to see my beloved Pittsburgh Steelers play. I don't know about that, William. Yeah, I mean, I just don't want to, uh, take on a project, a fixer-upper. Earl should play Desert Ridge Improv. It's a cool venue. Harlan was just there. I'm probably not a big enough name to headline, but I would love to play it. But that's where you guys come into play. If you guys, tweet or Instagram the club, "Hey, when's Earl Skakel coming?" That's how it happens. Um, Move to Austin. You can build an empire there. Yeah, but there's already too many people ahead of me there. Now if you said to me, "Hey, Rogan wants you on the podcast," I wouldn't move there, but I might get a small apartment there and play the mothership, once a month. So um, but we'll see. I mean, I in negotiations to come back to the mothership. Thank you very much to Brian Holtzman. Can't wait. AFC North will be brutal. I mean, that is going to be a bloodbath of epic proportions. And the Steelers, their final 8 weeks of the season, play 6 of those 8 games against the AFC North. So, I mean, I don't think Rogan would ask me to move there. Um, I mean, I'd have to have a reason to, I just can't play the mothership. Uh, I mean, my main money honey is the voiceovers out here. And I get a lot of last minute gigs because it's like, "Hey, Skakel lives in LA. Can you get to so and so studios in 20 minutes and you know, fill in?" So if I was living in Austin, I couldn't do that. How nervous were you for the mothership gig compared to Hackmania? Well, when Joe Rogan's watching your set, that's more nerves than anything Hackmania could throw at me. Earl, you have any interest in watching the Bears? Not really, to be honest with you. I would have thought the Steelers would have been a better choice. You've got Wilson and Fields, you've got the whole quarterback room drama, you've got Pickens. He seems like he'd be good for television. You've got them trying to find a replacement for, Deontay Johnson. Well, yeah, but sour milk. That's when you gotta reach out to House of Comedy and go, "Hey, we want Earl here," and then they literally will reach out to me and say, "Hey, Earl, do you want to play House of Comedy this weekend?" Sure. My friend Terry McNeely gets a lot of work because he owns a policeman uniform. Uh, well, I'm not saying the Bears aren't completely uninteresting. I mean, obviously, you've got the number one pick, but I think the Steelers. Yeah, and you've got the new offensive coordinator. I would love to see the meetings of the quarterback room and the offense trying to get it together. Yeah, I mean, that's why a lot of comics get booked as fans. And I'm not trying to be lazy and to get you guys to do the work, but if fans reach out to the local comedy club, whether it be House of Comedy in Arizona, Scottsdale, you know, even the mothership, like, although they're pretty inclusive, like, you gotta really be known to them to play their club. Um, you know, Comedy clubs don't book the funniest comics. That's a big misnomer. They book people who they think can fill the room. And if you're funny, that's a bonus. Uh, Austin's very hot. Would you drive or fly to Phoenix? I've done the drive to Phoenix. It's pretty brutal, so I would fly. I mean, it's a little longer than Vegas, and it's just as hot. And I don't like putting miles on, my cars are leases now because I just don't drive that much. And even when I returned the Jeep, the guy was like, "Man, you never drive." I'm like, because I think on the Jeep I had 18,500 miles in 3 years, and I paid for 12,000 miles a year. So, there you go. All right, you kids. This has been Monday Night Raw in the Earlverse. Well, I'm already in at the mothership, to be frank. I'm friends with the booker. I wouldn't say I'm friends with Rogan, but I'm not enemies. I mean, he's always nice to me, so um, I'm in at the mothership. I just have to make sure the trip is financially responsible for me. Um, could I get on other shows like Red Band's show at his club and um, whatnot. So I'm at the point now where I don't do comedy to break even. I've got to make a little money. Like I'm doing a gig Friday night in Temecula. Now, Temecula on a Friday night, it's an hour drive each way. And I said to the guy, listen, you're going to lose money if you want me to headline. I'm going to need 300 cash. And he's like, no problem. Because it's probably about 75 bucks in gas. And then, I'm doing an hour or whatever. 10 years ago, I would say I'll do it for 100. But now it's like, you want me to play your club? You got to pay for the privilege, baby doll. And if you don't want me to pay your club, there's hundreds of other comics you can use who'll do it for 50 bucks. But then you got to put them up on stage. Hello. What do you do for money, honey? Voiceovers, make a couple bucks on the YouTube stream. Earl of, let me see. I think I've answered all the questions. Well, I don't know. It just feels sucks. I mean, I think he just needs a change of scenery. I think Wilson will get the gig initially. I mean, I like having Justin Fields as a backup. If he was the starter, I'd be like, man, he didn't really kill it in Chicago. But he's a great plan B for if Russell Wilson doesn't work out or gets hurt. And we got a whole new offense coming in. So we got some new offensive linemen coming in. We're bringing in a ton of receivers, but we still have not found a replacement, in my opinion, for Deontay Johnson, and that's huge. Because right now, if the season started tomorrow, every defense is just going to say, let's double Pickens, some case triple him. Because I think they lost Calvin Austin too. So Lois might do a final cough. She's sleeping right now. She doesn't cough when she sleeps. So that's about it, guys. Earl Skakel over and out. I got yoga tomorrow from 6 to 7, so we'll probably do a stream around 7:30. On your way out, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification button. Thank you, Boulder Johnny, for your super chat. I appreciate it. That's all.